Hi, Rick Harsch here. I'll try to quit smoking this year, but not today. This this is a booktube, which is a review of a novel from the Central Park trilogy um, by Richard Kalich. Um, Times Books of Dublin put him out. I believe the novel I read is called the is it the or just nihilesthete? I think it's just called nihilesthete. Nihilist aesthete. Um, the let me see. I'm still. I should do the nihilesthete. And the interesting thing about that is a nihilesthete has got to be a pretty singular person, but there are really two significant characters in this book, and I think either one could be called the nihilesthete. Um, and I just read a book by Colin O'Sullivan of Betimes Books, and it took me 30 minutes to choke out my review. Um, so I'm going to do this one fast. I'm going to just say the important things only, and we're going to try to get through this as quick as we can. Um, but I have to preface this by discussing what could be a coincidence and otherwise is not. Now, I am sure that in the United States this man is called Richard Kalich, but in Slovenia the name would be Kalich, and the C would have a diacritical mark over it, either a slash or a sort of a V, little hat on it. Kalich. And so I wanted to call him Kalich, and I trained myself to call him Kalich, because that's probably what he's known by, even in Ireland. Um, so, but I would have done this yesterday, but I woke up at 1 in the afternoon, and I'm not even drinking anymore. And it was that my printer was calling, telling me that the Brossard book that we're publishing, the third Brossard book we're publishing, as the wolf howls at my door, which actually is helping hold up the Arno Schmidt book that's helping hold up the basket that's holding the phone, so that it's at kind of a you and me level. And um, they called and said, it's ready. And I expected Friday. They told me Friday. I'd called them the day before. They said Friday, but things happen and something got delayed, so a space opened up, and they said, let's get Rick's book done. And coronasamas.press, a little brief ad in there. I hope you don't mind. At least I'm not, getting paid for it. For the ad, I mean, or for anything for that matter. But anyway, so I last minute thing, I called the general secretary of my press, Jan Skomand, and he was unavailable. My wife couldn't come with me, and I didn't really even feel like driving. But I thought, I love getting a new book. I'm like a little kid with any new toy, or an old derelict with a surprise cigarette. And so on the way to my car, I ran into Istok, a middle-aged derelict. I think he's in his 50s, though. He's a guy who used to be hooked on heroin, and now is on probably methadone or something like that. And he's what I call one of the kleptoholics. These are people in Isla who are generally, have a story sort of like his. Um, at some point in their adult life, they turned to drugs or turned back to drugs or whatever, but became very addicted to drugs, and in the eyes of the outside world, ruin their lives. And they drink all day long. When I met Istok, he was I used to call him Colo Pivo because Pivo was beer, Colo was bicycle, and I used to see him every day riding a bike. He's got a mean looking face. He's an old sailor, a former sailor, I should say. I think he quit it when he was before 30, but I don't know. But he's been my friend for years. I used to come home from the university I taught at the high school I taught at, and I'd be so pleased to meet a couple of these guys and buy them beer and sit and talk with them because um, there wasn't much camaraderie at the university I worked at, but there was some. At least the people I met were fun and smart. But at the high school level, especially the language teachers were just deadbeats. When I would say the equivalent of their high school teaching um, was far inferior to the life led and the good done by the klopsaholics. Klopsa is bench in Slovene, so klopsaholics is my name for them. So, I said to Istok, hey, you want to go to Ljubljana? He said, sure. And he just had to go buy a six-pack, and I met him. I got the car, and I met him, and I waited for him, and so he came with me. And it was kind of nice because he's a little bit like the character, one of the characters, the retard. Yeah, I just said retard. That's what Kalich calls him early on. You're in the hands of a fearless. I don't know if I don't like saying fearless, but you're in the hands of a free writer when he introduces a character very early in the book and calls him a retard. We're not supposed to say retard. But then again, we're not supposed to act the way that a lot of people in novels act. And the narrator, who calls him retard, is a very bad person. And he does some very bad things. But let me finish my story. Uh, don't be so jumpy, okay? So I've got Istok in the car with me, and we hadn't gone far when he said he hadn't been uh, here. We weren't even up on the karst. You have to go from the low coastal area here up to the karst, and then you crest the highest part of low of Slovenia in a way, outside of the mountains, and then you go down eventually into the Ljubljana Polje or valley, and Polje I think is actually an English word too, but a lot of karstal terms are from Slovene, like karst or kras. Um, and so, bad weather. We had snow in April, but we hadn't gone far when Istok said, "Oh, I haven't been here for 5 years at least." And it turned out he hadn't been to Ljubljana for 22 years. And so we get to Postojna, which you can read about if you want. They got a famous cave there, and near there is Erasmus's castle in front of a cave. It's fantastic, beautiful place. And well, he points to the right of the road. There's a bit of a mountain, not a year-round snowy mountain like an Alp, but a mountain. And he says that's where that's Kalich over there. Kalich over there. Uh, so, but Kalich is here. But no, he said that's Kalich over there. Nobody's ever told me that. It was a ski. It's a ski area. He said that's. He said that's the Aspen of Slovenia. On the way back, I could actually see the ski runs, and he was really excited to see him. And he tells me all this stuff about it, and then he says, "Yeah, it's closed down." So the equivalent of Aspen is closed down. He's actually said it was superior to Aspen, Colorado. I've never been to Aspen, and I have no reason to disbelieve him. And if it's got the good fortune to be called Mount Kalich or the Kalich ski area, um, I think it's a great place. Um, anyway, uh, about this book, uh, this is I would call it a Beckettian conception. I've said that before, but I don't know if I said it during a review. I don't think I did. He doesn't write like Beckett, but it's a Beckettian conception. His humor is Beckett's humor. His people are a sort of more realistic Beckett person. Um, Not that Beckett's bums are not so realistic, but these people are working in offices. The story is there's a social worker who comes across a very, very um, crippled retard and gets really excited because he wants to work with him. But the work he wants to do is experimentation and cruelty. And that's what this book is about. It's about the gradual process of, of his gaining access, gaining total access, gaining total control, actually, so that the guy is actually living with them. And the guy has got no arms and he gets him prostheses so he can paint. And so it's a story on the on the surface about a guy for whom painting is everything. And but he has to discover that the social worker Haberman has to discover that. He wouldn't know, but he's very interested in the guy, and you know all along he's got sinister plans. What he does is he finds out how happy he can make this guy, and he gradually takes it all away. And that's basically all I'm going to give you about the story. The story is the novel is 187 pages long, and it reads fairly quickly. It's not experimental in terms of language, but it is relentlessly perverse. And if your humor does run that way, like mine, you're just laughing throughout. It is just a nasty piece of work, and I recommend it highly. Now, what good is a nasty piece of work like this? This kind of dark humor. What good is this in the world, you might ask? Well, I think that what it provides you is this universe um, that is actually very recognizable, and it personalizes the cruelty, and you see the utter waste of the way the society is organized, and and you also see, by the way, um, Kalich will take you through the suffering of humanity, and from the healthy to the unhealthy, from the poor to the working stiff, and you find the mistreatment is actually an everyday thing. Um, Maybe I'm reading between the lines, but that's just so that I can try to figure out why um, a piece of literature like this has value, and you know, I can see a lot of people like saying, we should never have given you a turn to choose at the book club. I mean, that is just, I'm so, I couldn't even, I got 15 pages in, I had to stop, but, your better friends will be laughing right along with you. It's just fucking hilarious. And it's, yeah, it's dark. But what is really darker than playing a joke on this guy's playing God, I suppose you could say. That would be the cliche. But what better joke than to create one animal of all your animals that knows throughout its life that it's going to die, and knows, maybe the other animals do know. What do we know about them? But we know that we know the most about it, and we've figured out the least about it. We're such saps. The other animals do suffer. Other animals exhibit empathy, but no animal has ever been as cruel, as abstractedly cruel as the human animal. No animal that I know of has any but the most normal ego. Now, what I call a normal ego, I'm referring to the ego of, say, the predator. You know, there are maybe crows have a little sinister streak in them, but most, almost, 90, more than 99% of animals do not commit acts of arbitrary cruelty, nor do they stray from their biological impulses. Um, they behave as themselves. They are, in the Hindu sense of the world, um, you will not find very many sparrows that do not that have not reached the state of liberation. Um, I'm not sure. I want to call it liberation because moksha is one of the words, but they're born with it, and they just don't lose it. We're born with we're born like the character in here, and we are not, as far as I can tell, in civilization. And let me just speak about the lucky civilization, the white man civilization of Europe and the United States. We are, in some ways, we are the most privileged in the world, but we are also mistreated by horrific systems that teach us all the wrong things and provide us all the wrong motives. The lucky person is the one who liberates him or herself um, from the societal strictures, and and understands what life might mean. We just know that it's something different from what we're told it is, and what we're trained to follow. And so I think that the ultimately a book like this uh, should shake a person out of their complacency, and that's a hard thing to do because most people don't who are complacent don't feel complacent. They don't understand they're complacent. I don't know what arrogant people feel. They might, you know, feel, you know, uh, complacent in all the wrong ways. But a lot of good people follow rules that never should exist, and and even go along with rules that they know are not the way they should be, because it takes a lot of energy to fight against um, the systems that humans have created for themselves. So this is the kind of thought that, or a trail of thinking that this book leads me to. There are others to come. I only finished it about a half hour ago. But now it's 2 for 2 with Betimes books. Highly recommend. I highly recommend Kalich. Um, I have many other things to do and read, so I don't know how quickly uh, I will read the next two here, but I'll certainly review them. And I already know I've got to like them because I like the guy's brain. And you know, I don't like easy comparisons. I don't like making literary comparisons, but you know, it's just the guy does have the Beckettian sensibility, and and it's refreshing to see it leave Ireland for a while, you know, because it's needed elsewhere. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what about Kafka? Yeah, of course. There's the Kafkaesque as well. The difference between him and Beckett that is most noticeable is he's not the stylist Beckett is, um, and but he doesn't want to be. He's mimicking the speech of an actual social worker and with a certain problem, and you can spend as much time as you want wondering about the past that's never revealed about the social worker, um, and his motives. A lot is left open. This you're not given anything but the story, which is of one man, for whatever reason, um, co-opting the life of a very unfortunate, retarded, crippled human being, and trying to make him miserable. Now there is an end to the book, and I was curious how it would end, and I'll leave you curious as well. Um, Richard Kalich, Central Park West trilogy, The Nihilesthete. Buy it from Betimes Books, or take it out of a library, or look for Kalich and say, why do you write such cruelty?